Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you're living in England 700 years ago. The year is 1347. There are no hospitals, no doctors rushing to help when a woman goes into labor, no bright lights or clean rooms. When life wants to comb in this world, there is only you. You are a midwife. And this is your story. You're deep in sleep when it happens. The knock on your door isn't gentle. It's urgent, desperate, cutting through the pre-dawn silence like a blade. Your eyes snap open. In this time, in this place, a knock at this hour means only one thing. You. Sit up in your straw-filled bed, your woolen blanket falling away. The air is cold against your skin. Through the small window, you can see nothing but gray fog rolling across the village. It must be just past 4 in the morning. The knock comes. Again, more insistent now. You swing your legs over the side of the bed, your bare feet touching the cold dirt floor. You've done this 100 times before, maybe more. Your body knows what to do, even when your mind is still catching up with the world. Coming, you call out, your voice hoarse with sleep. You pull on your brown woolen dress, the same one you've worn for 3 years now. Sturdy, practical, with long sleeves that can be rolled up when you need to work. You slip your feet into your leather shoes, good ones, made by the cobbler to villages over. A midwife needs shoes that won't fail her when she's walking through mud or snow, rushing across uneven ground in the dark. You grab your bag from the wooden chest beside your bed. This bag is everything to you. Inside, wrapped carefully in clean linen, are your tools. Scissors for cutting the cord, thread for tying it, small bottles of herbs fever, few for pain, yarrow to stop bleeding, chamomile to calm a frightened mother. There's a piece of smooth wood, worn soft from years of use, that laboring women can bite down on when the pain becomes too much. You open the door. Standing there in the fog is a child, a boy, maybe 10 years old. His clothes are soaked through, and he's shivering. His eyes are wide with fear and urgency. "Please," he says, his breath forming white clouds in the cold air. "My sister. She's having the baby. Ma says to come quick." You nod. You don't ask questions yet. There'll be time for that later. Right now, there's only the walking, the following, the going where you're needed. "Lead the way," you tell the boy. You step out into the fog and close your door behind you. The mist is so thick, you can barely see 5 feet ahead. The boy starts walking, and you follow, your bag clutched tight in your hand. Your heart is calm. Steady. This is what you do. It's who you are. The village is silent except for your footsteps on the wet ground. Most people are still asleep, wrapped warm in their beds, dreaming of ordinary things. But you are walking toward life, toward the moment when someone new will take their first breath. The boy leads you down the main path, past the church with its stone bell tower disappearing into the fog, past the blacksmith shop, past the mill where the wheel sits still and quiet. You know this village like you know your own heartbeat. You've delivered babies in half the houses here. "How long has she been in labor?" you ask the boy. "Since yesterday evening," he says, not slowing down. "Ma tried to help, but she says we need you yesterday evening. It means she's been laboring for maybe 8 hours already. First babies often take time. But still, you quicken your pace just a little. You walk for 10 more minutes, leaving the main village behind. The fog is starting to lift slightly, and you can make out the shape of a small cottage ahead, smoke rising from its chimney. There's candlelight flickering in the windows. As you get closer, you can hear it. The sound that means you're needed. A woman's voice crying out, then going quiet, then crying out again. The rhythm of labor, as old as humanity itself. The boy runs ahead and pushes open the wooden door. "She's here," he calls. "The midwife is here." You step inside, and immediately you're in another world. The cottage is small, just 2 rooms. But the main room has a fire burning in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls. There's a wooden table, a few chairs, pots hanging from hooks. And there in the back room, you can hear the woman laboring. An older woman comes out to greet you. She's probably the mother's own mother or maybe an aunt. Her face is creased with worry. "Thank God you're here," she says. She's been struggling for hours. The pain is getting worse, but the baby doesn't seem to be coming. You nod. and set your bag down on the table. Wait. Let me wash my hands, you say. There's a basin of water by the hearth. You pour some over your hands, rubbing them clean. In this time, you don't know about germs the way people will centuries from now. But you know that clean hands somehow make things go better. It's something. The older midwife who taught you always insisted on you. Dry your hands on a clean cloth and pick up your bag. What's her name, you ask? Sarah, the older woman says. She's 17. This is her first. You nod again. 17. First baby. That tells you a lot. First babies often take their time, and young mothers, especially very young ones, can get frightened. Fear makes everything harder. You walk into the back room. It's small, with just a bed and a single candle burning on a wooden stand. And there she is, Sarah, she's lying on, her side, her knees drawn up, her face flushed and damp with sweat. When she sees you, relief floods her eyes. You came, she whispers. Of course I came, you say, setting your bag down beside the bed. That's what I do. I sit on the edge of the bed and put your hand on her forehead. Shh. She's warm, but not feverish. That's good. You brush her damp hair back from her face. Tell me how you're feeling, you say softly. It hurts, she says, and then another contraction grips her. She squeezes her eyes shut and grips the bedclothes with both hands. You count in your head. The contraction lasts about a minute, which is normal. When it passes, she opens her eyes again. The pain is so strong, she says, but the baby... I don't think the baby is coming. What if something is wrong? You take her hand in yours. Your hands are strong from years of this work, steady, warm. Sarah, look at me, you say. She meets your eyes. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've helped bring dozens of babies into this world. Your body knows what to do. We just need to help it along. This is what being a midwife feels like. It's not just about the medical knowledge, though that matters. It's about being a steady presence in a storm. It's about being the calm voice when everything feels like chaos. It's about helping a woman find her own strength. You spend the next few minutes examining Sarah, feeling her belly, listening to the baby's heartbeat by pressing your ear against her skin. Everything seems normal. The baby is positioned correctly. Sarah is healthy and strong. Sometimes first labors just take time. I need you to walk with me, you tell her when the next contraction passes. Walk. She looks at you with surprise. Walking helps the baby move down, you explain. I know you're tired, but trust me, you help her stand up. She's wearing a simple white chemise and her legs are shaky. But you support her, one arm around her waist, and slowly you walk her around the small room. When a contraction comes, you stop and let her lean against you, breathing through the pain. That's it, you murmur. Breathe. Let your body do what it knows how to do. And something shifts. Maybe it's the walking. Maybe it's the change in position. Maybe it's just that Sarah is starting to trust the process. But after an hour of walking and resting, you can tell things are progressing, I think. I think I need to push, Sarah says suddenly. You help her back to the bed, arranging the pillows so she can sit up slightly. You've seen this moment hundreds of times, but it never gets old. The moment when a woman's body takes over completely, when instinct becomes stronger than fear. When the next contraction comes, push with it. You tell her, don't fight it.
I work.
With it, the older woman comes back into the room, carrying clean cloths and a bowl of warm water. She's done this before too. She knows what's needed. Sarah grips your hand as another contraction builds. Now you say, push now. She bears down, her face red with effort. You can see the top of the baby's head. I can see the baby, you tell her. The baby is coming. 3 more contractions. 3 more pushes. And then, in a rush of fluid and life, the baby is born into your waiting hands. It's a girl, perfect, healthy girl, with dark hair and strong lungs. She takes her first breath and lets out a cry that fills the small room with pure joy. Your daughter, you say, placing the baby on Sarah's chest. Your beautiful daughter. Sarah is crying now, but they're tears of relief and joy. Looks down at her baby with wonder. She's so small, she whispers. She's perfect, you tell her. You tie and cut the umbilical cord. then help deliver the afterbirth. Everything is normal, healthy. Sarah is tired but glowing. The baby is nursing already, instinctively knowing what to do. The older woman, Sarah's mother, you learn, brings you a cup of warm ale and a piece of bread. It's nearly noon now. You've been here for hours, but it feels like minutes. Thank you, Sarah's mother says. I don't know what we would have done without you. You pack up your bag, leaving behind some herbs for Sarah, things to help her heal, to ensure her milk comes in well. You show her mother how to care for the baby, how to keep the cord clean as it heals. Before you leave, you sit beside Sarah one more time. How do you feel? You ask. Like I can do anything, she says, smiling down at her daughter. Like I'm stronger than I ever knew. You nod. You are. You just proved it. This is what being a midwife feels like. It's being there when ordinary women do extraordinary things they never knew existed. You walk home through the village as the sun breaks through the clouds. People nod to you as you pass. They don't know where you've been, but somehow they can tell. There's something different about a person who has just helped bring life into the world. 2 weeks later, another knock comes. It's evening, just after sunset. You're sitting by your fire, mending a tear in your cloak. When you hear the familiar urgent rapping on your door, this time it's a man, middle-aged, ringing his. Cap in his hands, please. Mistress, he says. My wife? The baby is coming, but something isn't right. She's been laboring since dawn, and she's getting weaker. Since dawn, it's 12 hours already. You feel a familiar tightness in your chest, concerned but not panic. Long labors happen. Sometimes they end well, sometimes they don't. But you won't know until you see for yourself. Let me get my things, you tell him. This time you take extra supplies. More herbs, more clean cloths, an extra candle. Long labors require patience and preparation. The man leads you to a house on the far side of the village. It's larger than Sarah's cottage, with 2 stories and glass windows. This family has some money, but money doesn't make childbirth any easier. Inside, you find a scene of quiet desperation. The woman, Margaret they call her, is in the upstairs bedroom. She's perhaps 25, and this is her 3rd child. Her other 2 children, a boy of maybe 6 and a girl of 4, are sitting downstairs with their grandmother. She's trying to be quiet, but clearly frightened by their mother's cries. When you enter the bedroom, you'll see immediately why the husband was worried. Margaret is exhausted. Her face is pale, her hair soaked with sweat. She's been laboring hard for hours, and she's running out of strength. Thank God, she whispers when she sees you. I was starting to think this baby would never come. You set down your bag and go to her immediately. I'm here now, you tell her. We're going to figure this out together. You examine her carefully. The baby seems to be in the right position, but it's larger than her previous 2 children were. Sometimes big babies just take more time and more effort to be born. Have you been able to drink anything, you ask? She shakes her head. I can't keep anything down. This is a problem. A woman in labor needs strength, and strength comes from food and drink. But when labor goes on too long, women often can't eat. You go to your bag and pull out a small bottle. It says honey mixed with a little wine and some strengthening herbs. You tell her, just small sips, but try to keep it down. You help her drink a little, then sit beside her on the bed. This is going to be a long night. You can feel it. Being a midwife means learning to wait. It means sitting in rooms filled with pain and uncertainty, holding steady while time crawls by. It means watching a woman's face, listening to her breathing, feeling for changes that might be too subtle for anyone else to notice. Margaret's husband hovers in the doorway, clearly wanting to help but not knowing how. In this time and place, birth is women's work. Men stay nearby, ready to fetch things or run for help, but the actual labor belongs to the women. How long do you think it will take? He asks you. I don't know. You tell him honestly. Every birth is different. But I'm not leaving until this baby is safely here. You send him downstairs to check on the other children and to ask his mother to prepare some broth, something light that might stay down if Margaret can manage to eat. For the next several hours, you and Margaret work together. You help her. Change positions, sometimes lying on her side, sometimes walking, sometimes squatting. You massage her back when the contractions grip her. You brew teas from your herbs to help with the pain and give her strength. Around midnight, things change. Margaret's contractions suddenly become much stronger and closer together. Something is happening, she gasps. You check, and yes, finally, the baby is moving down. After 16 hours of labor, her body is finally ready to push. This is it, you tell her. The baby is coming now. But pushing with a large baby after such a long labor is hard work. Margaret is exhausted, and each push takes enormous effort. You can see the strain on her face. I can't, she says after several contractions. I'm too tired. I can't do it. This is the moment when being a midwife means being more than just a medical helper. This is when you become someone's strength, their courage, their hope. Look at me, Margaret, you say firmly. She opens her eyes and focuses on your face. You've done this twice before. Your body knows what to do. This baby needs you to be strong for just a little longer. You take her hand in both of yours. I've been with women through hundreds of births. I've seen mothers who thought they couldn't go on find strength they didn't know they had. You have that strength too. She nods, tears streaming down her face. With the next contraction, I want you to reach down and feel your baby's head. You tell her, when the contraction comes, you guide her hand down. Her fingers touch the top of her baby's head, and her face transforms. That's my baby, she whispers. That's your baby, you confirm. Just a few more pushes and you'll be holding your child. Something shifts in Margaret. Maybe it's touching her baby. Maybe it's your words. Maybe it's just that her body has finally found its rhythm. But the next few contractions are different. She pushes with purpose, with power, and then at 20 minutes past 2 in the morning, the baby is born. It's a boy, large and healthy, just as you suspected. He takes his time drawing his first breath. Sometimes big babies do, but then he lets out a strong, clear cry. Your son, you say, placing him on Margaret's chest. Your beautiful, strong son. Margaret is laughing and crying at the same time. All the exhaustion, all the pain, all the fear, it melts away in the face of this perfect new life. Her husband comes upstairs when he hears the baby cry. When he sees his wife holding their son, he starts crying too. 18 hours, Margaret says, looking down at her baby. 18 hours, but he's here. You clean up, help Margaret deliver the afterbirth, and make sure both mother and baby are healthy and comfortable. The sun is starting to rise by the time you're ready to leave. As you walk home through the early morning light, you think about what you've just witnessed. A woman pushed to her absolute limit, finding strength she didn't know she had. A family completed, new life begun. This is what being a midwife feels like. It's waiting through the long hours when nothing seems to be happening. It's being there. When hope starts to fade, it's helping people find courage they didn't know they possessed. It's witnessing miracles that happen not in a flash of light, but slowly, painfully, beautifully, over the course of a long, dark night. A month passes. Spring is coming to the village, and with it, a new challenge. Her name is Eleanor, and she's only 16 years old. She came to your door one morning, her belly round with pregnancy, her face pale with fear. I need to talk to someone, she had said quietly. Someone who understands. You invited her in, gave her a cup of warm milk, and listened to her story. She's the youngest daughter of a farmer. She married a boy from the next village 6 months ago, an arrangement made by their parents. She's been pregnant almost since the wedding, and she's terrified. I don't know anything about babies, she told you, her hands trembling as she held the cup. My mother died when I was small. I have no sisters. The other women in my husband's village, they're kind enough, but they're all so much older. I feel like a child playing at being grown up. Ow. Since that day, Eleanor has been coming to see you regularly. You've been teaching her about what to expect during labor, showing her positions. That might help with pain, explaining how to care for a newborn. But more than that, you've been trying to help her find confidence in herself. Now, on a warm April evening, the time has come. Eleanor's husband appears at your door, barely more than a boy himself, his face white with panic. Aye. The baby is coming. He stammers. Eleanor is asking for you. She says she can't do it without you there. You've been expecting this call. Eleanor is 2 weeks past the time you calculated the baby should come, and she's been increasingly uncomfortable. You grab your bag and follow the young man through the twilight to his family's cottage. Inside, you find Eleanor in the back room, sitting on the edge of the bed. She's breathing hard, and when she sees you, her face crumples with relief. "So scared," she whispers. You sit beside her and take her hand. "I know you are. That's normal. Every woman is scared before her first baby. But what if I can't do it? What if I'm not strong enough? What if something goes wrong?" You've heard these fears before, but hearing them from someone so young, someone who looks like she should still be playing with dolls instead of having babies, makes your heart ache. "Eleanor, look at me," you say gently. She raises her eyes to yours. "Do you remember what I told you about your body?" She nods slightly. "Tell me you say that, ... that women's bodies are made for this. That I have everything inside me that I need. That's right. And do you remember what I told you about fear? That fear makes the pain worse. That I need to trust what's happening, good girl. Now I want you to feel what's happening in your body right now. Don't think about what might go wrong. Just feel what is." She closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. A contraction is building, and you can see her tense up as she anticipates the pain. "Don't fight it," you remind her. "Breathe with it. It do its work." She nods and tries to relax. The contraction grips her, and she squeezes your hand tight, but she doesn't panic. When it passes, she opens her eyes. "That wasn't as bad as I thought it would be," she says with surprise. "They'll get stronger," you tell her honestly, "but you'll get stronger too." With each contraction, you'll learn more about what your body can do. Eleanor's labor progresses steadily, but gently. This is often how it goes with very young mothers. Their bodies are flexible, resilient. But emotionally, she needs constant reassurance. Her husband hovers anxiously nearby. His mother tries to help, but she's a brusque woman who keeps saying things like, "Stop making such a fuss," and women have been doing this since the beginning of time. Her words, meant to be encouraging, only make Eleanor more nervous. Finally, you ask the mother-in-law to prepare some food for after the birth and request that the husband wait downstairs. Eleanor visibly relaxes when it's just the two of you. "I feel like everyone expects me to know what I'm doing," she confesses during a quiet moment between contractions. "But I feel like a little girl pretending to be a woman." "Eleanor, how old do you think I was when I helped deliver my first baby?" She looks at you curiously. "I don't know, 25, 30, 14. You tell her, "I was 14 years old, and I was apprenticed to an older midwife. I was so scared I could barely hold the instrument steady." Her eyes widen. "Really? Really? And do you know what that midwife told me?" Eleanor shakes her head. "She said that being young doesn't mean being weak. She said that sometimes young women make the best mothers because they haven't learned to doubt themselves yet." As the hours pass, you watch Eleanor transform. With each contraction, she becomes a little more confident. She starts trusting the signals her body is sending her. She stops apologizing for crying out when the pain gets strong. "I think I need to push," she says suddenly, around midnight. You check and she's right. "Yes, you do. Your baby is ready to be born." "But I don't know how," she says, panic creeping back into her voice. "Yes, you do," you tell her firmly. "Your body knows how. I'm going to help you, but the power is coming from you." You help her into a position that feels comfortable, sitting up with her knees bent. When the next contraction comes, you guide her through her first push. "That's it," you encourage her. "That's exactly right." Eleanor's eyes light up with amazement. "I felt the baby move." "Keep going. You're doing beautifully." For the next hour, Eleanor pushes with a determination that surprises both of you. Scared 16-year-old girl is gone, replaced by a woman doing the most important work of her life. "The head is coming," you tell her. "One more push and you'll see your baby." She bears down with everything she has, and suddenly the baby's head emerges. Another push, and the rest of the body follows. It's a girl. Perfect, healthy girl with her mother's fair hair and strong lungs. You place the baby on Eleanor's chest, and the transformation is complete. The frightened child who came to your door months ago is gone. In her place is a mother, staring down at her daughter with fierce love and protectiveness. "I did it," she whispers in amazement. "I actually did it." "You did? You confirm?" were incredible. Her husband comes upstairs when he hears the baby crying. When he sees his wife holding their daughter, he looks at Eleanor with new respect. She's not the scared girl he married anymore. She's the mother of his child. What should we name her? He asks softly. Eleanor looks down at her daughter, then up at you. Hope, she says. Her name is Hope. As you pack up your supplies, Eleanor calls you over to the bed one more time. Thank you, she says. Not just for helping with the birth, but for helping me believe I could do it. You had the strength all along, you tell her. Just helped you find it. This is what being a midwife feels like. It's watching someone discover they're capable of more than they ever imagined. It's helping a frightened girl become a confident mother. It's being there when someone takes the biggest step of their life and finds out they're strong enough to take it. Not every story has a happy ending. This is the hardest part of being a midwife, and it's a part you wish you never had to face. But death is as much a part of life as birth, and sometimes, despite everything you know and everything you do, things go wrong. It's a cold November morning when the call comes. The woman's name is Anne, and she's been laboring for 2 days. She's 30 years old, and this is her 5th child. Her previous births were all normal, healthy. There's no reason to expect problems. But when you arrive at her cottage, you know immediately that something is different. Anne is lying very still on the bed, her face gray with exhaustion and pain. Her husband looks haggard, like he hasn't slept in days. She stopped pushing, he tells you quietly. She was doing well, pushing hard, and then she just ... stopped. She says she can't anymore. You go to Anne and take her hand. It's cold, despite the fire burning in the hearth. Anne, can you hear me? She opens her eyes slowly. I'm so tired, she whispers. I don't think I can do this anymore. You examine her carefully. The baby is positioned correctly, and you can feel its head, ready to be born. But Anne has been laboring so long that she's exhausted beyond her limits. Her body simply doesn't have the strength left to push. This is a situation you've encountered before, though not often. Sometimes women labor so long that they reach a point where their bodies give up. In your time, there's not much you can do. Medically, no surgery, no instruments that can safely help. You have your hands, your knowledge, your herbs, and your prayers. Anne, listen to me, you say, leaning close to her. Your baby is right there, so close to being born. But I need you to try one more time. She shakes her head weakly. I can't. I have nothing left. You go to your bag and pull out a small bottle. It contains a mixture of herbs that can sometimes give a laboring woman a burst of energy. Pennyroyal, motherwort, a tiny amount of ergot. It's risky. Too much can be dangerous. But sometimes it's the only chance. Drink this, you tell her. Just a small sip. Anne drinks the bitter mixture, grimacing at the taste. You wait, hoping, praying that it will help. For a few minutes, nothing happens. Then slowly, Anne's eyes become more alert. The next contraction that comes seems stronger. Try now, you tell her. Work with this contraction. She tries. She pushes. With what little strength the herbs have given her, you can see the baby's head moving down slightly. Good, you encourage her. The baby is coming. Keep going. For the next hour, Anne pushes when she can. Each contraction brings the baby a little closer. But you can see that she's failing again. The brief energy from the herbs is wearing off and she's getting weaker. Finally, with tremendous effort, the baby's head is born, but then Anne collapses back on the bed, completely spent. But Anne can't push anymore. She's unconscious now, her breathing shallow. You have to act quickly. Using your hands, you carefully help guide the baby's shoulders out. It's delicate work. You have to be gentle enough not to hurt the baby, but quick enough to get it born. Before it's too late, finally, the baby slips out into your hands. It's a boy, but he's not breathing. His skin is blue, and he's completely limp. This is the moment every midwife dreads. You've seen it before, but it never gets easier. Sometimes babies are born without the breath of life in them. You work frantically, trying everything you know. You clear his mouth, rub his chest, breathe into his tiny lungs. For several minutes, you don't give up hope, but the baby doesn't respond. It's gone. Meanwhile, Anne is bleeding more than she should be after the birth. You try to stop the bleeding with pressure, with herbs, with everything in your knowledge. But she's been laboring for too long, lost too much strength. Her body can't recover. Within an hour, Anne is gone too. You sit in the small cottage, holding the baby who never drew breath, looking at the woman who tried so hard to bring him into the world. Her husband is weeping in the corner. The other 4 children, who have been staying with neighbors, don't yet know they're orphans. This is the part of being a midwife that no one talks about, the times when your knowledge isn't enough. Your herbs don't work. When your hands can't save the lives entrusted to them, you clean the baby, wrap him in soft cloth, and place him in his mother's arms. Even in death, they should be together. The next few days are some of the hardest of your life. You help prepare Anne and her baby for burial. You try to comfort her husband, though there are no words that can ease his grief. You make arrangements for the 4 children to live with their aunt in the next village. At the funeral, people look at you with questions in their eyes. Why couldn't you save them? What went wrong? You ask yourself the same questions, going over every decision, every moment, wondering if there was something else you could have done. An older midwife from a neighboring village comes to see you. A few days later, her name is Margaret, and she's been delivering babies for 30 years. I heard about Anne, she says gently. I came to see how you're managing. You tell her everything that happened, every detail, still searching for what you might have done differently. She listens patiently, then takes your hands in her weathered ones. Child, she says, in 30 years, I've lost 3 mothers and 7 babies. Each time, I wondered if I could have done something different. Each time, I carried that grief with me. How do you keep going, you ask her? Because for everyone I've saved dozens, she says. Because the women and babies who are alive today because of what we do outnumber the ones we couldn't save. Because this work, hard as it is necessary. She pauses, looking out your window at the village beyond. Because when we stop doing this work, more mothers and babies die, not fewer. Over the following weeks, you slowly return to your practice. The first birth you attend after Anne's death is terrifying. You second-guess every decision, worry about every symptom. But the mother and baby are both healthy, and gradually your confidence returns. You develop new rituals to honor the ones you've lost. Before every birth, you say a quiet prayer for Anne and her son, asking them to guide your hands. You keep a small stone on your table at home, one for each mother or baby you couldn't save. It's a reminder that this work is sacred, that every life matters, that grief and joy often walk hand in hand. Months later, a young midwife from another village comes to you for advice. She's just lost her first mother and she's devastated. Ready to give up the work entirely? You sit with her as Margaret sat with you. You tell her about the weight of responsibility we carry, about the importance of continuing despite the losses. How do you bear it, she asks, just as you asked Margaret. By remembering that this work is bigger than our failures. You tell her, by honoring the ones we lose, by saving the ones we can. By understanding that death is part of life, but so is our duty to fight for life whenever possible. This is what being a midwife feels like. It's carrying both joy and sorrow in your heart. It's accepting that sometimes, despite your best efforts, you can't save everyone. It's learning to live with grief while still opening your heart to hope. It's understanding that the calling to help bring life into the world comes with the responsibility to honor those who don't make the journey. And it's knowing that tomorrow, when another knock comes on your door, you'll answer it. Because the work continues and life continues. And somewhere, there's a woman who needs you to be strong enough to try again. Winter comes early this year. By December, the village is blanketed in snow deeper than anyone can remember. The wind howls through the thatched roofs, and ice forms on the inside of windows. Most people stay close to their fires, venturing out only when absolutely necessary. You're sitting by your own hearth on a particularly brutal evening, grinding herbs by candlelight. When you hear it, first you think it might be the wind, but then it comes again, someone pounding on your door with desperate urgency. You wrap your woolen cloak around your shoulders and open the door. The blast of cold air takes your breath away. Standing on your doorstep is a man you recognize, Thomas. A shepherd who lives in a cottage nearly an hour's walk outside the village. He's covered in snow from head to foot, his beard frozen white, his eyes wild with panic and exhaustion. "Please," he gasps, barely able to speak through his chattering teeth. "My wife, ... The baby is coming, but it's too early. This storm, ... We're snowed in. Been walking for 2 hours to reach you." Your heart sinks. Thomas's wife, Mary, isn't due to give birth for another month at least. If Thomas has been walking for 2 hours in this weather, the conditions must be even worse up on the hillside where they live. "How long has she been in labor?" you ask, already reaching for your bag. "Since this morning." The pains started small, but they're getting stronger. She's frightened, and she keeps saying the baby isn't ready yet. You look outside at the swirling snow. The wind is so strong, you can barely see beyond your own garden. This is the kind of weather that kills people who get lost in it. But somewhere out there is a woman in labor, alone, frightened, with a baby trying to be born too soon. "Wait here," you tell Thomas. "I need to get ready." You put on every warm garment you own. Your thickest woolen dress, your winter cloak, your heaviest boots. You wrap your midwife's bag in oiled cloth to keep it dry. You fill a small sack with extra supplies, more herbs, additional cloths, candles, flint for starting fires. Most importantly, you pack special herbs for premature babies. Babies born too early often struggle to breathe, struggle to stay warm, struggle to survive. You have remedies that might help, though they don't always work. "Are you sure you can find your way back in this weather?" you ask Thomas as you prepare to leave. He nods grimly. "I mark the path with stones on my way here. If we can see them through the snow, we can follow them home." You step out into the storm and immediately understand why Thomas looked so haggard. The wind cuts through your clothes like knives. Snow is falling so heavily, you can barely see your own feet. Within minutes, your face is numb with cold. Thomas leads the way, moving slowly but steadily. Every few yards he stops and searches for one of his stone markers. Sometimes it takes several minutes to find the next one, buried under fresh snow. You walk in silence, all your energy focused on not losing sight of Thomas, on keeping your feet moving, on not thinking about how cold you're getting. Your bag feels heavier with each step. Ice forms on your eyelashes, making it even harder to see. After what feels like hours, Thomas stops and points ahead. "There," he shouts over the wind. "There's our cottage." You can barely make out a dim glow through the storm candlelight. In a window, it's the most beautiful sight you've ever seen. The cottage is small and humble, but it's warm inside. Mary is lying on a bed near the fire, and when she sees you, she starts crying with relief. "You came," she sobs. "I was so afraid you wouldn't be able to make it through the storm." You go to her immediately, setting down your bag and pulling off your wet cloak. Mary is very young, perhaps 19, and this is her first child. Her face is flushed with fever and pain. "Tell me what's happening," you say, taking her hand. "The pains started this morning, just small ones. I thought it was nothing. The baby isn't supposed to come for another month. But they got stronger, and then I think my water broke. There was so much fluid." You examine Mary carefully. She's definitely in labor, and the baby is definitely coming too early. But sometimes babies that seem premature are actually closer to full term than expected. Hard to know exactly how long a woman has been pregnant. "Let me feel the baby," you tell her. As you examine her belly, you can tell the baby is smaller than it should be. But it's moving actively, which is a good sign. And Mary, despite being young and frightened, seems strong. "How often are the pains coming?" you ask. "Every few minutes now, and they're getting much stronger. Over the next several hours, you work with Mary through her labor. It's different from attending a birth at full term. Everything feels more urgent, more fragile. With premature babies, labor sometimes progresses very quickly. The cottage is small but cozy. Thomas keeps the fire burning high, melting snow in pots to provide warm water. The wind continues to howl outside, reminding you that you're all isolated, here together until the storm passes. Around midnight, Mary's labor intensifies dramatically. "Something is happening," she gasps. "I feel like I need to push." You check her, and yes, despite the baby being early, her body is ready. "The baby is coming." You tell her, "Are you ready?" "Not too soon," she says, fear clear in her voice. "What if the baby isn't strong enough?" "Some babies are stronger than we expect," you tell her. "And we're going to do everything we can to help this little one." You prepare everything you might need for a premature birth. You ask Thomas to heat stones by the fire. You'll wrap them in cloth to help keep the baby warm. You brew a tea from special herbs that might help the babies. Breathing, when Mary starts pushing, you can tell immediately that this baby is small. But the labor progresses normally, and within an hour, the baby is born. It's a boy. And he's tiny, much smaller than a full-term baby. But he's breathing, and his cry, while soft, is clear. You quickly wrap him in the warmest cloth you have, and place him on Mary's chest. "He's so small," Mary whispers, looking down at her son with wonder and worry. "But he's breathing well." You tell her that's the most important thing. Next few hours are critical. Premature babies often struggle to maintain their body temperature, so you work constantly to keep him warm. Show Mary how to keep him against her skin, how to wrap him tightly, how to make sure he stays close to the fire the baby is having. Some trouble nursing, which is common with early babies. You prepare a mixture of honey and warm water, feeding it to him drop by drop with a small spoon. As dawn breaks, the storm finally begins to calm. The baby has made it through his first night, which is a good sign. Still very small, still fragile, but he's fighting. "Will he be all right?" Mary asks. I don't know. You tell her honestly. "Babies born this early face challenges, but he's stronger than I expected. You're going to take very good care of him." Spend 3 more days at the cottage, waiting for the weather to clear completely and making sure both Mary and the baby are stable. You teach Mary everything you know about caring for a premature infant, how to keep him warm, how to help him nurse, what signs to watch for that might indicate problems. On the 4th day, the sun finally comes out. The snow stops falling, and the wind dies down. You can see the path back to the village clearly now. Before you leave, you check on the baby one more time. He's gained a little weight. His breathing is steady, and he's nursing better. Still very small, but he has that spark of life that some babies carry, the determination to survive against the odds. "What will you name him?" you ask Mary. As you pack up your supplies, she looks down at her son, then out the window at the bright sun shining on the fresh snow. "Storm," she says. "His name is Storm because he came to us through the worst weather I've ever seen, but he survived it." You smile. That's a good name for a fighter. As you walk back to the village through the sparkling snow, you think about what you've just experienced. You walked for hours through a dangerous storm because a woman needed you. You helped bring a baby into the world under the most challenging circumstances. You spent days caring for a fragile new life, not knowing if your efforts would be enough. This is what being a midwife feels like. It's walking through danger when someone needs you. It's bringing warmth and hope into cold, frightening situations. It's fighting for life even when the odds aren't good. It's understanding that sometimes the most precious things come to us in the hardest moments. Years later, you'll see Storm playing in the village square, a healthy, strong boy who survived. His early arrival, his mother will nod to you with a special smile. And you'll remember that winter night when you helped bring him safely into the world through the storm. Spring arrives again, bringing with it the familiar rhythms of village life. The fields turn green, flowers bloom in cottage gardens, and life feels full of possibility. You've been a midwife for nearly 20 years now, and you're walking through the village market on a warm May morning when something happens that makes you pause. You're examining some fresh herbs at the herb seller's stall when you notice a commotion near the baker's shop. A small crowd is gathered, and there's laughter and excited chatter. Curious, you move closer to see what's happening, In the center of the crowd is a young woman holding a baby, clearly her first child. Born perhaps 2 months ago. She's glowing with pride as the other women admire her infant. But what catches your attention is what one of the older women is saying. "You should thank God for our midwife," the woman says, gesturing in your direction, though she hasn't seen you yet. Without her, who knows how that difficult birth would have ended. You remember now? The young woman is Beth, the blacksmith's daughter. Her labor was long and complicated. The baby was in a difficult position, and it took hours of careful work to help turn him safely. But both mother and child came through healthy and strong. "She saved both our lives," Beth says, bouncing her baby gently. "I don't know what would have happened without her." You don't approach the group. Instead, you quietly continue with your shopping, but you can't help listening as the conversation continues. "Do you remember when my Margaret was born?" Another woman chimes in. "Breech birth, and I was so frightened. But our midwife just stayed calm and helped Margaret turn around safely. That was 15 years ago, and look at my Margaret now, strong as an ox." "And what about when the miller's wife had twins last winter?" someone else adds. "Nobody expected 2 babies, but our midwife managed the whole thing like she'd done it 100 times before. She's delivered half the children in this village," an elderly woman observes. "Maybe more than half." As you listen, you realize they're talking about births you remember well. Margaret's breech birth, where you had to carefully help the baby turn. The miller's wife and her surprise twins, 2 healthy boys who kept everyone awake for months with their crying. Beth's difficult labor, just 2 months ago, but they're also talking about births you'd almost forgotten. Children who are now teenagers, adults even. People whose first breath you helped them take, who are now living full lives in the village. You finish your shopping and start walking home. But everywhere you go, you notice things differently. The young man helping his father load grain onto a cart you delivered him during a snowstorm 12 years ago. The girl feeding chickens in her family's yard, her mother nearly died in childbirth. But you managed to stop the bleeding just in time. The toddler playing in the dirt outside the tavern, you remember his birth because it happened so quickly. You almost didn't make it in time. It's strange. This feeling of seeing your life's work walking around the village in the form of living, breathing people. Most of the time, you focus on the immediate crisis, the woman in labor, the baby that needs to be born safely. You don't often think about what happens after, about how those babies grow up and become part of the fabric of the community. That evening, as you're preparing for bed, there's a soft knock on your door. When you open it, you find Beth standing there, holding her baby. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," she says. I just ... I heard what people were saying at the market today, and I realized I never properly thanked you. There's no need, you tell her. I was just doing my job." "No," she says firmly. "It wasn't just a job. When I was in labor, when I was so frightened, and the pain was so terrible, you were like a steady rock in a storm. You never seemed worried, never seemed like you doubted things would be all right. That gave me strength." She pauses, looking down at her baby. "And now I have him. Perfect and healthy and wonderful. That's because of you." You invite her in for a cup of tea, and as you sit by your fire, she tells you more about how the birth affected her. "I always thought I was a weak person," she says. "I was afraid of pain, afraid of responsibility. But when I was in labor, you kept telling me how strong I was. You made me believe I could do it. And afterward, ... I felt like I could do anything." "You were strong," you tell her. "I didn't make you that way. I just helped you see what was already there." She says. "But you were the one who saw it first." After Beth leaves, you sit by your fire thinking about the conversation. Think about all the women you've helped over the years, not just with their births, but with finding confidence in themselves. Young mothers who discovered they were braver than they knew. Older women who found strength to face difficult labors. Women who learned to trust their bodies, trust themselves. A few days later, you're called to attend another birth. As you're walking to the house, you pass a group of children playing in the village square. One of them, a boy of perhaps 10, notices you and runs over. "Are you going to help someone have a baby?" he asks with the direct curiosity of a child. "Yes. I am," you tell him. "My mother says you helped me be born. he says proudly. She says I was stubborn and didn't want to come out, but you convinced me. You remember his birth? He was indeed reluctant to be born, and his mother labored for a very long time. But when he finally arrived, he was perfect and healthy. Your mother did all the hard work. You tell him. I just helped a little. Will you help my sister when she has her baby? He asks. You realize he must be talking about his older sister, who recently married. She needs me, and if I'm able, then yes, you tell him. He grins and runs back to his friends, and you continue on your way, but the encounter stays with you. This boy whose birth you attended a decade ago is now thinking about the next generation. The cycle continues. The birth you attend that day goes smoothly. A healthy baby girl born to parents who already have 3 children. They know what they're doing, and your role is mostly to provide reassurance and expertise when needed. You're preparing to leave. The father presses a small bag of coins into your hand. Thank you, he says simply. For everything. Everything, you ask. This baby? Yes. But also our other children. You've been there for all of them. You've been part of our family's story from the beginning. As you walk home in the early morning light, you realize he's right. You have been part of this family's story and dozens of other family stories. You've been there for the most important moments of their lives. You've helped bring their children safely into the world. Most of the time, you don't think about this broader impact. You focus on each birth as it comes, each woman who needs your help. But occasionally, like today, you get a glimpse of the bigger picture. You see how your work ripples outward through the community, through generations. Being a midwife means being invisible in some ways. People don't always think to thank you. Your name isn't remembered in stories or songs. But your work lives on in every child you've helped deliver, every mother you've guided safely through childbirth. This is what being a midwife feels like. It's being woven into the fabric of a community so completely that you become part of its foundation. It's knowing that your hands have helped shape the future one birth at a time. It's understanding that while the world might not always notice your work, it would be a poorer, sadder place without it. And sometimes, on a warm spring day in the village market, you get to overhear people talking about the lives you've touched, the children you've helped bring into the world, the families you've helped create, and you realize that this quiet, essential work is perhaps the most important thing you could ever do with your life. When you first became a midwife 25 years ago, you learned everything from a woman named Agnes. She was 63 years old then, hands like leather and eyes that seemed to see through everything. She had been delivering babies for 40 years, and she took you as her apprentice when you were just 14. Now, Agnes is gone, dead these past 5 years. But hardly a day goes by that you don't think of something she taught you. Hear her voice in your memory guiding you through a difficult moment. Today, you're facing a situation that makes you particularly grateful for her wisdom. The woman in labor is named Catherine, and she's having her 6th child. Her previous births were all normal, so when the call came you expected this to be straightforward, but something is wrong. Catherine has been pushing for 3 hours, and the baby doesn't seem to be progressing. She's exhausted, and you can see fear creeping into her eyes. What's happening? She asks between contractions. Why isn't the baby coming? It was never like this before. You examine her carefully, trying to understand what's different this time. The baby feels like it's in the right position, but something is preventing it from moving down the birth canal. Suddenly you hear Agnes's voice in your memory, as clear as if she were standing beside you. Sometimes, child, the body remembers what the mind forgets. When a woman has had many babies, her body knows what to do, but sometimes it needs reminding. You remember the birth where Agnes taught you this lesson? It was a woman having her 7th child, and like Catherine, she was stuck, despite her experience. Agnes had done something that seemed strange at the time, but it worked. Catherine, you say, I want you to try something different. Instead of lying down, I want you to get up and squat. Squat. She looks at you with confusion. But I've never done that before. Sometimes when we've had many babies, our bodies need a different position to remember what to do, you explain. Helping her up from the bed, you guide Catherine into a squatting position, supporting her as a contraction builds. She pushes, and immediately you can feel the difference. The baby moves down noticeably. It's working, Catherine says with amazement. 3 more contractions in this position. And the baby is born, a healthy boy who cries loudly as soon as he enters the world. As you clean up afterward, Catherine asks, "How did you know to try that?" "I've had 5 babies, and no one ever suggested anything like that before. An older midwife taught me," you tell her. She said that sometimes experience can become a trap if we're not careful. We get used to doing things one way and forget that every birth is different. You think about all the other lessons Agnes taught you over the years you worked together. How to tell by a woman's breathing whether labor was progressing normally. How to position your hands to feel the baby's exact position in the womb. Herbs to use for different complications, and more importantly, when not to use them. But Agnes's most important lessons weren't about techniques or remedies. They were about the deeper aspects of being a midwife. You remember the first birth where something went wrong. A baby was born, not breathing, and despite everything you and Agnes tried, the child died. You were devastated, ready to give up midwifery entirely. Agnes sat with you afterward, holding your hands as you cried. "This is the hardest part of what we do," she said quietly. "We hold life and death in our hands, and sometimes death wins. But that doesn't mean we stop trying. How do you bear it?" you asked her, just as that young midwife would ask you years later. "By remembering that for every one we lose, we save many more," Agnes replied, understanding that our calling is to fight for life, not to guarantee it. And by honoring the ones we lose by continuing to help the ones we can save. Another lesson came during a difficult winter when you were called to help with a birth in a cottage far from the village. The journey took hours through snow and cold, and when you arrived, you found that the baby had already been born. Family was embarrassed, apologizing for making you travel so far for nothing. But Agnes wasn't bothered at all. She examined the mother and baby, made sure everything was healthy, and gave the family advice about caring for the newborn. On the way home, you complained about the wasted journey. Was it wasted? That mother and baby are healthy now, but what if there had been complications? What if the baby had trouble breathing, or the mother had problems with bleeding? Would we have wanted them to face that alone? But nothing was wrong, you protested. "This time," Agnes said. "But they didn't know that when they sent for us. Part of being a midwife is being available when people need us, even if it turns out they don't need us after all. It's better to take a cold walk for nothing than to have someone suffer because we weren't there." You think about how many times over the years you've been called to births that turned out to be false alarms, or situations that resolved themselves before you arrived. Agnes's words always come back to you in those moments. Perhaps her most important lesson came near the end of her life. She was becoming frail, her hands not as steady as they once were. But she was still taking calls when women requested her specifically. You were working together at a particularly difficult birth. The baby was breech, and it took all of Agnes's skill and experience to help deliver it safely. Afterward, as you walked home together, you suggested that maybe it was time for her to retire. "I've been thinking the same thing," she said quietly. "My hands shake now, and my eyes aren't what they were. But you know what worries me most about stopping?" "What?" you asked. "I'll stop learning," she said. "Every birth teaches us something new, even after 40 years. The day we think we know everything is the day we become dangerous." She paused, looking up at the stars. "Promise me something. When you've been doing this as long as I have, don't think you know everything. Stay curious. Keep learning. Find a young woman, too. Teach, so the knowledge doesn't die with you." Agnes died in her sleep 2 years later. At her funeral, it seemed like half the village was there, women whose children she had delivered, now grown and bringing their own children to pay respects. True to her final request, you've taken on apprentices over the years. Currently, you're teaching a 16-year-old girl named Emma, who reminds you of yourself at that age, eager to learn. Sometimes impatient, but with gentle hands and a caring heart. Just last week, Emma faced her first birth, where something went wrong. A baby was born with the cord wrapped around its neck, and for several terrifying minutes, it seemed like the child might not survive. You worked quickly to unwrap the cord and help the baby breathe, and eventually the infant took its first breath and cried. Afterward, Emma was shaking with the intensity of the experience. "How do you stay so calm when something like that happens?" she asked. You heard yourself repeating Agnes's words. Panic helps no one. Our job is to think clearly and act quickly. The mother and baby need us to be steady, even when we're frightened inside. But what if we can't save them? Emma asked. Then we live with that grief and continue helping others, you tell her, passing on Agnes's wisdom. But we never stop trying, and we never stop learning. This is what being a midwife feels like. It's carrying forward the wisdom of those who came before you while making it your own. It's understanding that this ancient work connects you to generations of women who have helped bring life into the world. It's knowing that everything you learn, you'll someday pass on to the next generation of midwives. Agnes may be gone, but her hands still guide yours in difficult moments. Her voice still whispers advice when you're not sure what to do. Her wisdom lives on in every birth you attend, every woman you help, every life you touch. And someday when Emma is an experienced midwife with an apprentice of her own, she hear your voice guiding her, just as you hear Agnes's voice guiding you. The knowledge passes from hand to hand, heart to heart, generation to generation, ensuring that women will never face the miracle and challenge of childbirth alone. The call comes on a gray October morning when the leaves are turning brown and the air carries the promise of winter. But this isn't a normal call. The messenger is a young woman, barely more than a girl herself, and she's crying as she speaks. "Please, come quickly," she sobs. "It's my lady. She's in labor, but it's too early. She's only been with child for 6 months." Your heart sinks. 6 months. That's far too early for a baby to survive, even under the best circumstances. In your time, with no special care available for premature infants, babies born this early almost never live, but you grab your bag anyway. Even if the baby cannot be saved, the mother will need help. Sometimes miracles happen. The young woman leads you to a large house on the wealthy side of the village. This is Lady Margaret, wife of the local lord. You've never attended her before, but you know of her. She's perhaps 22 years old, and this is her first pregnancy. She's been married for 3 years with no children, and this pregnancy was a great joy to her and her husband. Inside the house, you find chaos. Servants are running back and forth. The Lord is pacing in the main hall. And from upstairs comes the sound of a woman in terrible pain. A servant leads you to the ladies' chamber. It's a beautiful room with tapestries on the walls and a large bed with fine linens. But Lady Margaret, lying in that bed, looks anything but fine. She's tiny, delicate, and clearly in agony. Her face is pale, except for bright spots of fever on her cheeks. When she sees you, she grabs your hand with surprising strength. "Save my baby," she pleads. "Please, I'll give you anything. Just save my baby." You examine her quickly. She's definitely in labor and it's progressing fast. The baby will be born soon, whether it's ready or not. "My lady," you say gently, "I need you to understand something. The baby is coming very early. I'll do everything I can, but baby's born this soon. ... No, she interrupts. Don't say it. Just help me. Help us both." Over the next hour, you work with Lady Margaret through her labor. Despite the early timing, her body seems to know what to do. Contractions are strong and regular. But you know that even if the birth goes smoothly, the real challenge will come after. "I can see the baby," you tell her, as the final stage of labor begins. One more push. Lady Margaret pushes with everything she has, and the baby slips into your hands. It's a girl, impossibly tiny, smaller than your 2 hands together. Her skin is translucent, almost see-through. Her eyes are still sealed shut. She's so small you can see every delicate bone in her chest, and she's not breathing. You work frantically, doing everything you know to help premature babies. You clear her mouth and nose, rub her chest gently, breathe softly into her tiny lungs. For what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes, there's no response. Then, suddenly she takes a breath. Just one small shaky breath, then another. "Is she?" Lady Margaret asks weakly. "She's breathing," you tell her, wrapping the baby in the softest cloth you can find. "It's but my lady, she's very small, very early. I don't know, ... Let me hold her. Lady Margaret says, "You place the tiny baby on her mother's chest." The infant is so small she almost disappears against Lady Margaret's body. But she's warm and she's breathing, and occasionally she makes tiny movements. "What can we do, Lord?" William asks from the doorway. He's been standing there watching, his face a mixture of hope and despair. "Keep her warm," you tell them. "As warm as possible. Skin to skin with her mother is best. And pray you stay at the house for 3 days." The baby they name her Hope continues to breathe, but she's incredibly fragile. She can't nurse, so you show Lady Margaret how to feed her drops of honey water from a tiny spoon. She can't maintain her body temperature, so she has to stay constantly against her mother's skin. Hope is so small that normal baby clothes don't fit her. The servants tear up fine silk scarves to make tiny garments for her. She weighs no more than a young kitten. On the second day, Hope stops breathing for several minutes. You manage to revive her, but it's clear that her lungs aren't developed enough to work properly. She struggles with every breath. "She's suffering," Lord William says quietly to you while Lady Margaret sleeps. "Maybe it would be kinder to... ... You interrupt. "As long as she's fighting, we fight with her." On the third day, something changes. Hope seems a little stronger. Her breathing, while still labored, becomes more regular. She opens her eyes for the first time. They're blue, like her mother's. "Look," Lady Margaret whispers, touching her daughter's tiny hand. She's holding my finger. Hope's grip is impossibly small, but it's there. This tiny being, born far too early, is holding on to life with determination that amazes everyone who sees her. You teach Lady Margaret everything you know about caring for a premature baby: how to keep her warm, how to feed her tiny amounts frequently, how to help her breathe when she struggles, what signs to watch for that might indicate problems. "Will she live?" Lady Margaret asks you before you leave. "I don't know," you tell her honestly. "Babies born this early, it's very rare for them to survive. But she's fighting harder than any premature baby I've ever seen. If will to live counts for anything, Hope has a chance." You leave extra herbs and detailed instructions with the household. You promise to return in a week to check on both mother and baby. When you come back a week later, you're amazed by what you find. Hope is still tiny, still fragile, but she's alive. More than that, she seems to have gained a little weight. She's nursing a bit now, though still needs supplemental feeding with honey water. She's stronger every day, Lady Margaret tells you, glowing with pride and relief. "Watch this." She touches Hope's cheek, and the baby turns toward her finger, opening her mouth. "She knows me. She knows my voice." Over the following months, you visit regularly. Hope grows slowly, much more slowly than a normal baby. But she grows. At 3 months old, she's still smaller than most newborns. But she's alert, responsive, and clearly thriving within her limitations. By her first birthday, Hope has grown into a small but healthy child. She walks late and talks late. But she walks and talks. She's tiny for her age and always will be, but she's intelligent, curious, full of life. Years later, when Hope is 5 years old, you encounter her playing in the Lord's garden. She's still small for her age, but she's running and laughing. "With the other children, do you remember me?" you ask her. She looks at you thoughtfully. "You're the lady who helped me be born," she says matter-of-factly. "Do you know how special you are?" You tell her. "Mama says I'm a miracle," Hope says. She says, "I wanted to be born so much that I came early, and then I was so strong that I stayed alive even though I was very tiny." "Your mama is right," you tell her. "You're a miracle." This is what being a midwife feels like. It's fighting for the tiniest, most fragile lives. It's refusing to give up even when the odds are impossible. It's witnessing the power of will, both a baby's will to live and a mother's will to save her child. Most babies born as early as Hope don't survive. You've attended other premature births that ended in heartbreak. But Hope reminds you that sometimes, rarely, miracles do happen. Sometimes the smallest fighters are the strongest of all. And sometimes, being a midwife means being part of a story that people will tell for generations. The story of the baby who was born too soon but refused to give up, and the mother who loved her fiercely enough to will her You sit by your fire mending baby clothes for your upcoming births. Your thoughts turn to something you don't often dwell on, your own beginning. Tomorrow, you'll attend the birth of a young woman in the same cottage where you yourself were born 38 years ago. It's strange how life comes. It's full circle sometimes. Your mother was 17 when you were born, barely older than some of the frightened young women you help today. She was married to your father, a carpenter, for less than a year when she found herself with child. Like so many young mothers, she was terrified of what lay ahead. The midwife who attended your birth was a woman named Goodwife Helen, your mother. Told you the story many times over the years, and each telling added another detail, another memory recovered from that long night of labor. You were stubborn from the very beginning, your mother would say with a smile. You took your time coming into this world as if you weren't quite sure you wanted to be here. Your mother labored for nearly 18 hours. It was midwinter, and snow was falling heavily outside the small cottage where your family lived then. Your father paced the main room, keeping the fire burning high, while Goodwife Helen worked with your mother in the back room. Helen never seemed worried, your mother told you. When the hours stretched on, she just kept saying, "This baby will come when she's ready. You just need to be patient." Goodwife Helen had been delivering babies for 30 years by the time you were born. She was a small woman with graying hair and hands that seemed to know exactly what to do in any situation. Your mother said she had a way of making even the most frightened women feel calm and safe. When the pain got very bad, your mother would recount. Helen would tell me stories about other births she'd attended. Happy stories about babies who grew up strong and healthy. She said it was important to remember that pain in childbirth always ends with joy. You were born just after dawn, as the snow finally stopped falling and weak sunlight began filtering through the cottage windows. According to your mother, you came into the world quietly, no immediate crying, just looking around with alert eyes as if you were taking inventory of your new surroundings. Helen cleaned you up and handed you to me, your mother would say, and the first thing I noticed was your hands. You had the longest, most delicate fingers I'd ever seen on a baby. Helen looked at them too and said, "This child has hands that will do important work someday." It's a prophecy that proved true, though not in the way anyone might have expected at the time. Your mother recovered quickly from your birth, and you were a healthy, thriving baby. But what made your birth story special wasn't the birth itself. It was what happened afterward. 3 days after you were born, another woman in the village went into labor unexpectedly. It was her first child, and she was very young and frightened. Goodwife Helen was already attending another birth on the far side of the village, and there was no way to reach her in time. Your mother, despite having just given birth herself, made a decision that would change your life. She wrapped you warmly, asked a neighbor to watch you, and went to help the laboring woman. I didn't know much about delivering babies, your mother told you, but I remembered everything Helen had done for me just 3 days before. I knew how to keep the woman calm, how to help her breathe through the contractions, how to encourage her when she got frightened. The birth went well. Both mother and baby were healthy. But more importantly, your mother discovered something about herself that day. She had a natural gift for helping women through childbirth. When Goodwife Helen heard what had happened, she came to visit your mother. "Would you like to learn to do this properly?" she asked. "I could use an apprentice, and you clearly have the instincts for it." Okay, and so, because of the circumstances of your own birth, your mother became a midwife. You grew up in a house where women came at all hours seeking help with their pregnancies and births. You learned about herbs and healing, about the stages of labor, about how to comfort frightened mothers. Your earliest memories are of sitting quietly in the corner while your mother worked, watching her gentle hands, listening to her calm voice. By the time you were 10 years old, you knew more about childbirth than most adult women. When you were 14, your mother began formally training you as her apprentice. This knowledge shouldn't stay with just one person, she told you. I think you were born to do this work. Your mother was right. You took to midwifery naturally, as if it were something you'd always known how to do. Your hands seemed to instinctively know how to position themselves, how much pressure to apply, how to feel for the baby's position in the womb. You have a gift, your mother told you after you successfully helped with your first solo delivery. at age 16. But more than that, you have the temperament for it. You stay calm when others panic. You give strength to women who think they have none left. Your mother practiced midwifery until she was 65 years old. Together, you delivered hundreds of babies in your village and the surrounding area. You developed techniques together, shared knowledge, learned from each other's experiences. When your mother finally retired, she handed over her midwife's bag to you. It was the same bag that Goodwife Helen had passed to her years before. Inside were tools that had helped bring countless babies into the world, herbs gathered and prepared by 3 generations of midwives. This work is bigger than any one person, your mother told you on the day she retired. We're part of a chain that stretches back to the beginning of time and forward to the end of it. Every woman who has ever helped another woman give birth is connected to us. Your mother lived to see you become the most respected midwife in the region. She was there when you delivered your 100th baby, your 200th. She watched you train your own apprentices, passing on the knowledge that had been passed to you. She died peacefully in her sleep 5 years ago at the age of 72. At her funeral, it seemed like every woman in 3 villages came to pay their respects. Many brought their children, babies, and children and young adults whose births she had attended. She helped bring me into the world, one young woman said, holding her own infant. And now this midwife, she gestured to you, helped bring my daughter into the world. I feel like a sacred circle. Now as you prepare for tomorrow's birth in the cottage where you yourself were born, you think about that sacred circle. The cottage has been passed down through the same family for generations. The woman who will give birth there tomorrow is the granddaughter of the woman who owned it when you were born. You remember being in that cottage as a child, visiting with your mother when she came to check on other new mothers? The layout is exactly the same. The main room with its large fireplace, the smaller back room where the bed sits, the tiny window that lets in morning light. Tomorrow, you'll help bring a new life into the world in the same room where your own life began. Your hands will do the work that Goodwife Helen's hands did for you, that your mother's hands did for so many others. And someday, perhaps, one of your apprentices will attend a birth in that same cottage, continuing the circle that connects all women across all generations. The knowledge will pass from hand to hand, the way it always has, the way it always will. This is what being a midwife feels like. It's understanding that you're part of something much larger than yourself. It's knowing that your work connects you not just to the women you help, but to every midwife who came before you and every one who will come after. It's carrying forward a tradition that began when the first woman helped another woman give birth. And that will continue as long as babies are born and mothers need care. It's being a link in an unbroken chain of compassion, knowledge, service that spans all of human history. And it's knowing that in some small way, the circumstances of your own birth, the timing, the place, people involved, shaped you into exactly the person you needed to become to do this. You're 58 years old now, and your hands aren't quite as steady as they once were. Your back aches after long labors, and you need more time to rest between calls. You've been thinking about retirement, about passing your practice fully. To Emma, who has grown into an excellent midwife in her own right, but tonight, one more call comes. It's past midnight when the knock sounds on your door. You wake slowly. You don't spring from sleep the way you once did. When you open the door, you find a young man you don't recognize, clearly exhausted from a long journey. Please, he says. My wife, ... She's in labor, but something is wrong. The midwife in our village, she died last month, and there's no one else. Someone told us you were the best, that you might come, even though we live so far away. You look out into the night. It's early spring, but still cold, and you can see your breath in the air. This young man has probably walked for hours. To reach you? How far, you ask? 3 hours on foot, he admits. But my wife, ... She specifically asked for you. She said she'd heard stories about you, about how you've never lost a mother or baby when other midwives might have. You think about correcting him. You have lost mothers and babies over the years, but you understand what he means. Your reputation for handling difficult cases has spread throughout the region. Let me get my things. you tell him. As you pack your bag, you feel the weight of every tool, every herb bottle. This bag has been with you for over 40 years. It's been repaired and re-repaired, but it's still the same one your mother passed. To you, tonight it feels heavier than usual. The walk to the distant village is difficult. Your joints protest with every step, and you have to stop frequently to rest. The young man, his name is David, walks patiently beside you. Clearly worried about his wife, but trying not to push you faster than you can go. Tell me about your wife, you say during one of your rest stops. Her name is Rachel. She's 19, and this is our first child. She's been in labor since yesterday morning, but the baby ... WD doesn't seem to be coming. She's getting weaker, and I'm scared. Since yesterday morning, it's already more than 24 hours of labor. Your heart tightens with concern, but also with determination. This is why you came, why you always answer the call, no matter how tired you are. When you finally reach their cottage, dawn is beginning to break. Inside, you find Rachel lying on a simple bed, clearly exhausted. Her face is pale, her hair damp with sweat, and when she sees you, tears of relief spring to her eyes. You came, she whispers. I was so afraid, ... But you go to her immediately, setting down your heavy bag and taking her hand. I'm here now. We're going to take care of you and your baby. You examine Rachel carefully. The baby is large and seems to be positioned correctly, but Rachel has been laboring so long that her body is exhausted. She needs help, but she's young and strong. There's still hope. Rachel, I need you to trust me, you tell her. I'm going to help you find the strength to bring this baby into the world.
Ow.
Over the next several hours, you work with Rachel using every technique you've learned in 4 decades of midwifery. You help her change positions, give her strengthening herbs, massage her back during contractions. Most importantly, you give her your calm, steady presence. I can't do this anymore, she says at one point, echoing the words you've heard from hundreds of women over the years. Yes, you can, you tell her firmly. I've been doing this for 40 years, Rachel. I've seen women who thought they had no strength left find exactly what they needed. You have that strength too, your hands. Despite their age, seem to remember exactly what to do. They guide Rachel through the final stages of labor with the wisdom of decades of experience. When the baby's head finally crowns, you feel the familiar surge of excitement and relief. One more push, you tell Rachel. Your baby's almost here. Pushes with everything she has left, and the baby slides into your waiting hands. It's a boy, healthy and strong, with dark hair and powerful lungs that announce his arrival to the world. Your son, you say, placing him on Rachel's chest. Your beautiful, perfect son. As you clean up after the birth, you realize that your hands are shaking slightly. Not from nerves. You've done this too many times to be nervous, but from fatigue. This labor took everything you had to give. Rachel and David are lost in wonder, staring down at their son with the amazement that new parents always have. But you feel something different this time. A sense of completion, of having given everything you had to give. Thank you, Rachel says, looking up at you with tears in her eyes. I don't know what we would have done without you. You would have found a way, you tell her. Women always do. So you pack up your bag for what you somehow know will be the last time. You think about all the births you've attended over the years. Hundreds of them. Healthy babies and sick ones, easy labors and difficult ones, young mothers and older ones. Each one unique, each one precious. You think about the women you've helped find their strength, the families you've helped create, the lives you've had the privilege to welcome into the world. You think about the mothers and babies you couldn't save and how their memory has made you a better midwife. The walk home seems easier than the journey there, despite your exhaustion. The sun is shining, birds are singing, and somewhere behind you, a new family is beginning their life together. When you reach your own cottage, you find Emma waiting for you. She's been your apprentice for 8 years now, and she's ready to take over your practice completely. How did it go? She asks. Mother and baby are both healthy, you tell her. But Emma, I think it's time. She looks at you with understanding. You ready to retire? I'm ready to pass this work to someone who can carry it forward, you say. You're an excellent midwife. Better than I was at your age. That afternoon, you perform the ceremony that your mother performed with you, and that her mentor performed with her. You hand Emma your midwife's bag, the same bag that has served 3 generations of midwives. This work is bigger than any one person, you tell her, repeating the words your mother said to you. We're part of a chain that stretches back to the beginning of time and forward to the end of it. Emma takes the bag with reverence, understanding the weight of what she's receiving. Not just tools and herbs, but the responsibility to care for women and babies, to fight for life, to be present in the most important moments of people's lives. What will you do now? She asks. Rest, you say with a smile, and maybe help you when you need an extra pair of hands. That evening, as you sit by your fire without your midwife's bag for the first time in 40 years, you feel a mixture of sadness and peace. The active part of your career is over, but the work continues. Emma will answer the calls now, just as you did, just as your mother did before you. You think about Rachel and her baby boy, probably nursing right now in their cottage 3 hours away. You think about all the other babies you've helped bring into the world, now grown into children and adults living their own lives throughout the region. This is what being a midwife feels like in the end. It's knowing that you've spent your life doing something that truly mattered. It's understanding that every time you answered a call, every time you helped a woman through labor, every time you welcomed a new life into the world, you were participating in the most fundamental human experience. It's looking back on a lifetime of service and knowing that the world is a better place because you were here, because you used your hands and your heart and your knowledge to help others in their most vulnerable moments, and it's trusting that the work will continue. Carried forward by capable hands, ensuring that no woman will ever have to face the miracle and challenge of childbirth alone, the chain of knowledge, compassion, and service continues, just as it always has, just as it always will. And you have been privileged to be one of its links, connecting the past to the future, carrying forward an ancient tradition of women helping women, life helping life. This was the life of a midwife in 14th century England. Life of service, of courage, of being present for the most sacred moments of human existence. These women, whose names are largely forgotten by history, were the guardians of life itself, ensuring that babies could be born safely and mothers could survive childbirth in an age when both were far from guaranteed. Their hands delivered the ancestors of kings and commoners alike. Their knowledge, passed down through generations, kept alive the ancient wisdom of bringing life into the world. Their courage took them through storms and darkness, into cottages and castles, wherever they were needed. Today, in hospitals with modern medicine and technology, the spirit of these medieval midwives lives on in every doctor, nurse, and midwife who helps bring a child into the world. The tools have changed, the knowledge has expanded, the essential nature of the work remains the same, being present when life begins, offering strength when someone needs it most, and fighting for every precious breath. The next time you see a newborn baby, remember the countless women throughout history who made that moment possible. Remember the midwives who walked through darkness to answer a call, who held steady hands when everything seemed uncertain, who whispered encouragement when hope seemed lost. This is what it felt like to be a midwife in 14th century England. Is the story of the women who made sure that life could continue. One birth at a time, one family at a time, one sacred moment at a time.